Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Wind Down Fridays with Give a Sister a Hug. I'm your girl, Author Erica. I have my fabulous co-host, Author Kim, on with us today. And this is Wind Down Friday, Give a Sister a Hug, a Survivor edition. As you all know, October is breast cancer and domestic violence awareness month. And every day this Friday and every Friday in October, we're gonna have a survivor tell their story, either domestic violence or breast cancer. But we have been having a lot of domestic violence survivor stories that we're going to tell. And today, our special guest is Ashley. Ashley is going to tell us her story. So, thanks for joining us, Ashley. Thanks for taking time out your busy day to allow us to share your story on Give a Sister a Hug platform. So, we're going to pass the mic off to you.
Yay! Thank you so much, Erica and Kim, for having me. Um, so my story pretty much starts off in the summer of 2015. I was gonna be on the way to a concert, not a backyard concert, but like an outdoor concert with my family, and I actually happened to meet my abuser at a local fast food restaurant, and it just started off like normal. We went and ordered our food, and my family went and sat down. I waited for the food, and we just talked for a little bit, and we ended up exchanging phone numbers, and we were kind of in a rush. Well, anyway, we were texting all night, and we planned to meet up, and we ended up meeting up, hitting it off and everything, and um, about I'd say like a month after us talking, we got into a relationship. Um, Started off like a normal relationship. He was very chivalrous and everything. And um, I would say red flags started popping up 4 months later in the winter time. And he broke up with me because he said he was going back to school. And it's like, who am I to say, like, don't break up with me because of school? Like, if you're
Right.
going to
Right,
school, like, that's an important thing.
Right.
right,
So I told him, I understand, and you know, we kind of like went our separate ways. It hurt a lot. But again, who am I to say anything different? Um, so about a week later, he asked if we could meet at a park, and he wanted to talk to me, and I'm like, okay. So I met him at the park. It was like 9:30 at night, and he said that he was sorry for breaking up with me the way he did. And I said, "Well, I understand you have school. You're busy, you know." And then he said, "Well, I wanted to explain that to you." He said, "The real reason why I broke up with you is because I was talking to someone else." And I was like, "Oh, well, just, you might as well just slap me in the face then." You know what I mean? Like, that's how it felt like. Um, so I felt really betrayed and everything. And then, he's like, "Is there anything I could do to make it up to you?" And I'm like, "Well, no, you like betrayed my trust. Like, you were
Right.
obviously talking to this girl while we were together, you know."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so I found out that was like a coworker of his that he was working with and stuff. And um, he was doing a lot of talking, and I was stupid, and I got back with him, of course. And I was moving out into my own apartment, and he didn't really like that too much, which also should have been a red flag for me. Because like, who wouldn't want their partner to be successful and like move up and progress in
Right.
life, He was
Right.
more focused on like, oh, you're getting your own place, so you're probably gonna be bringing people over. Um, so, and it's like hindsight is 2020, right? So if like looking back on it now, I would have been like, that would have been the end of our relationship. If you're accusing me of like cheating on you when you're the one that left me for somebody else.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So like,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really think of it at the time. I always gave him like the benefit of the doubt and stuff. And um, so anyway, he helped me move into my apartment, and he slept over to like make me feel comfortable because it's my first time living on my own.
Right.
And so when I went to work the next morning, I hadn't heard from him all day. And this is the beginning of 2016. This was the in January. Um, I hadn't heard from him all day, so I went to like the worst possible thing, that he was cheating on me again,
Right. Right.
And I come to find out when he actually did call me that he was in the hospital. His lung collapsed.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so I felt bad. I felt guilty for like thinking that he was cheating on me, but like what else was I supposed to think
Close.
when that had happened?
Right.
So I met him at the hospital, and I stayed in the hospital with him for 3 nights, and he was like sending me on a wild goose chase for ice cream, and it was a blizzard because where I live it snows a lot in the wintertime. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went to 5 different stores looking for ice cream for him, and I could not find the one he wanted, so he got really mad at me. And again, I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I'm like, he's in a hospital bed, like his lungs collapsed, he's going through a really hard time, like, you know, he's just frustrated.
Right.
Um, so after being in the hospital for 3 nights with him, the 4th night he was just like, just go home because I would be up every hour with him because he'd be up in excruciating pain. And the
Right.
only time I left was to go to work and I'd come right back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he told me to go home and it was like 1 in the morning and I'm like, but it's snowing. He's like, just go home. So I'm like, you want me to leave at 1 in the morning? Can't I leave in the morning and just stay home? And he
Right.
wanted me to leave right then and there. So I did, and I didn't hear from him for a couple of days. And well, anyway, he spent an accumulative of 2 weeks in the hospital because of the lung.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Didn't need surgery or anything, so that was good. I had developed bronchitis over being in the hospital for that long with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and which made working kind of hard, but it got better. Um, And then when he got out of the hospital, he started acting weird. So this is when stuff really took a turn, was when he got out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when he got out of the hospital, he was ignoring all my phone calls, ignoring all my texts and stuff. And it's like, obviously, I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. Like, I missed him.
Right.
So when he finally got back to me, he's like, what? And I'm like, what do you mean, what? You're ignoring all my phone calls and all my texts. I just want to know what's going on. And
Right.
then he said that he was like going to be at a party at a friend's house, and you know, obviously there were going to be girls there and stuff, and that made me nervous. I'm not possessive or jealous by any means, but because of how he broke up with me the first time, it
Right.
kind of, it made me that way.
Right.
Like not possessive, but like the jealous part.
Yeah.
So I asked him if he can like come over to my house, my apartment, and talk with me because I felt in the pit of my stomach there was something wrong with the relationship. So he came over and he ended up saying like, yeah, he didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. He's like, well, because I told him, I said, I feel like you want to break up with me. You're ignoring me. You're, avoiding me. He's like, well, if you knew I was going to break up with you, why did you have me come all the way over here? And I'm like, well, because how are you going to break up with me? Were you just going to ignore me and hope I broke
That
up with you? Like,
right.
I don't
That
do
was it.
that.
Right.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, I was like, I don't just break up with you. Like, a relationship is communication. You know what I mean? Like, I want to
Right.
work it out. Don't just give me silent treatment. So anyway, when he told me he wanted to break up, I was like, that's all you had to say, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, you can leave now.
Right.
Obviously it hurt. I felt betrayed again. And he left and I locked the door behind him. So I went to the mall, I bought myself a new outfit and everything, cause treat yourself, right?
Right.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Yes. After a breakup, yes.
right. So, um, well, anyway, yeah, I went out and bought myself a new outfit, and then I came home, and another week had passed. It seemed to be like, a week would pass, and I'd start getting over him. I'd start feeling better, and then he would contact me
Mm-hmm.
after a week. It was always
Yeah.
after a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said like, "Hey, I need your help." And I'm like, "Why do you need my help? Like, ask your new girlfriend." And
Right.
then
Okay.
and
Okay.
then he was like, "No, but I need your help because, you're such a nice person." And he's like, "Please, can you help me?" And I'm like, "Okay, what do you want?" And then he said, "My car, something's wrong with my car. Can you lend me $150?" And I'm like, "Why? Like, you broke up with me. We're not together. I'm not obligated to give you anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's like, please, please, please." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." And then so I go to the bank, I get the money, and I go to his house. And then I give him the money, and then he's like talking to me for hours trying to get me back again. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this again. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like I can't keep doing this, you know, because I said, why is it every single time you break up with me and then I have to pick up my own pieces and then I start feeling better and then you message me again or you call me again
Right.
and then you just bring all that back on me. You know what I mean? It's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Can I
I,
ask, how old were you?
I was 24, 25. Yeah. Um, and we did have an age difference. Like he was 4 years younger, so he was 20.
Okay.
So there was that. I've never dated anyone younger than me before like that.
Which
People were
means
telling me, yeah, people were telling me I probably shouldn't, and then I'm like, well, he's you know an adult. Like we're
Right.
both, he asked me out and stuff, and
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to discriminate on age because if you carry yourself well and if you're, a
Right.
responsible person,
Right.
then what does age
age
have to
don't
do with
matter.
it?
Yep.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Because currently with my current boyfriend now, he's 8 years older than me. He could be looking at me like I'm a child too, but I'm
Right.
a responsible adult with my own apartment again. I'm established, so
Right.
like
Right. Exactly.
it's not fair to judge someone by their age. So
Correct.
um, so after about 6 hours of him talking to me and like asking for me back and stuff, I was getting tired. It was like 6 in the morning. And I'm like, okay, fine, like we'll get back together. I said, but something has to change. Um, so anyway, like I wasn't sure how I felt about like getting back with him. I wasn't happy, I wasn't sad, I wasn't anything. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, hopefully it'll be better this time. And it was for a little bit. Um, he slowly like started moving his stuff in, which I didn't ask him to.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of took that as like a red flag also.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I keep saying hindsight is 2020. Like I didn't ask him to move his stuff in. It seems kind of controlling if you
Yeah.
just move your stuff in without talking to me first.
Right. Because that's exactly
Um,
what it is. It's controlling.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would notice that like, in the beginning of a relationship, I always tell the other person like I don't know how to cook.
Right.
I've just never learned, and that's
Right.
an important thing to tell someone because in the
Because
past, men have always thought like, I mean, even now that women should do cooking and stuff, and they
yeah.
expect it.
Yeah.
Um,
You
and
say that again. They expect it, and
yeah,
some of us, because I'm one of those too. I don't know. I don't cook either. So
right.
yeah.
So like, there's some things that you pick up along the
I
way.
cook.
Like, I know
Yeah.
how to make chicken parmesan, but like, over that, I don't know how to cook anything like from scratch.
Right. Right.
So when he moved in with me, he was expecting me to get home from work and cook dinner right away.
Huh?
And at the time I had two jobs. So I'm like,
Oh.
where am
Mm-hmm.
I having all this time to,
Cook.
I don't even cook dinner for myself. Why am I cooking dinner for you?
Right.
Exactly.
You know
Exactly.
what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like you're
Yeah.
not my husband or anything. Like
Right.
you moved yourself in. I didn't ask you. So
Mm-hmm.
like why am I cooking dinner for you?
Mm-hmm.
Um so anyway, there was a day that I had cooked him like just a piece of chicken. It was like 11 at night and he wanted chicken. So I literally cooked him just a piece of chicken, like no sides or anything like that. And when I put chicken down on the table for him, he went ballistic. Like he got so mad. He's like, "Where are the potatoes? Where are the broccoli?" I'm like, "It is 11 o'clock at night. I want to go to sleep. Like eat your chicken and that should be good enough."
Right. Right.
And he was gonna break up with me over that. He's like, any fast food restaurant gives you sides. He's like, McDonald's gives you fries. KFC gives you sides. I'm like, then go to KFC, go to
Right.
McDonald's,
Right.
and get
Right.
yourself
Exactly.
some.
Right.
Carry your ass to the
Exactly.
KFC and all
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
right. Like go to KFC and get yourself some green beans on the side or whatever. Like
Right.
it's even
Right.
cheaper now because I made you your chicken. Like
Right. So you don't even need the chicken.
Yeah.
right. And now we're in the
Exactly.
day of Uber Eats and stuff. So like
Exactly.
I mean, that wasn't a thing back then, but I'm 30 now, so it was the
Get your ass up and go get your own
right.
sides if you want. You got the chicken and all that.
So So I ended up like talking it out with him and stuff, and then, he just ate his chicken. I was like, I'll make you sides next time or whatever. And you would think that like the steamables sides would be
Right.
fine. He wanted
Yeah.
like actual produce, like go to the produce section and boil some water and steam the broccoli yourself, like
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock at night. Come on.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, all that was gone. The reason why I'm bringing up these small things is because they lead up to the big things. Like
Bigger
these,
Right.
things. Yes,
you know,
exactly.
the small things matter too.
Right.
Because if I
Yep.
would have ended it at the small things, then the bigger things probably wouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
Um, so moving on, like I came home from work one day. I'm a preschool teacher. I came home from work one day. It was like 5, 6 o'clock, and I didn't know he got home from work early. I was talking on the phone to my sister, and we were talking for a good half an hour. And when I hung up the phone with her, I, went to go hang up a shirt that was laying on my bed. I went to go hang up a shirt in the closet, and he came out of my closet. Like he was in my closet that whole time. Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying.
Creepy.
If you don't know these small things, like
Small things. Right.
yeah,
Right. Right.
That's creepy.
yeah. And so like the thing is, my timeline's going all over the place because I didn't write it all down. I'm sorry.
You're
That's
fine.
okay.
Um, I think the jealousy started from him because of these messages he saw on my phone. I wasn't cheating on him. I had male friends, like
Right.
not male friends that I would hang out with or anything, because like if I'm in a relationship, I'm not gonna go out with my male friends.
Right.
But
Right.
I had male friends on Facebook and stuff, and I would just like that I've known before I even met him, you know.
Right.
Um, and they knew I was in a relationship. I made that very public so that way, nobody tried anything with me or whatever.
Mhm.
So, I just sent him a funny picture and he didn't even respond back, and I didn't say anything more than that. I just sent a funny picture and he saw that on my phone and he went ballistic and thought I was cheating on him and he punched a hole through my wall. Yeah. So that happened before the whole closet thing. I should have said that before. I'm sorry.
You're fine. That's
um
because it's the small things, like you said, that
yeah.
adds up to the big things. So yeah, I totally get it.
Right. So like that that happened and I didn't even want to sleep in my bedroom anymore. Like I moved my bed out to the living room. Like I couldn't sleep in there anymore because there was a giant hole in my wall. The less I would go in that room, the better. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I don't know how to fix a wall. Like I
Right.
don't cook. Like how do you want me to fix a wall now? You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
I teach children for a living. Like I don't do drywall. So anyway, so yeah, like it got to a point where like he made me afraid. Like I would be checking in the closet whenever I got home. I would be checking, around my apartment and stuff. And, you know, I wasn't able to go out with friends or anything. He actually stood over my shoulder while I deleted all of my male friends off of Facebook after that. Like, even
Mm,
if, yeah, like I told him, I said, I talk to you all the time. Like, I don't go out. But yeah, he can go to Six Flags and stuff with girls and then
That's
mhm.
not a
post on
problem.
Facebook. Right.
Yeah.
Of course it's not. And he was the one that left me for a girl initially. So
Right.
it's like I haven't given you any reason to think that I'm doing anything, but I'm always gonna say that hindsight is 2020 thing. That really makes sense now when you think about
Mm,
it. All the
yeah.
stuff that, is just plain as day right in front of you and you don't think anything of it.
Right. Exactly.
Um And then, I think the first time he ever laid a hand on me, um, what I it was after the wall incident. I think it was before the closet thing. Um, well, anyway, we had an argument and he pushed me backwards and I fell back and hit the back of my head on an ottoman.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, and I was just laying on the floor and things went blurry. I think I blacked out for a couple seconds because I went quiet and I just saw like a figure standing in my front doorway. I think he didn't know whether he was going to leave or should stay. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but the second I went quiet, I think he got nervous and he stayed and he went and got ice and oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and I just
Mhm.
wanted to sleep. And he said, no, you might have a concussion. We have to take you to the hospital. And while we were on our way to the hospital, he told me, when the doctors or nurses ask you, tell them that this happened. Tell them you were studying and you leaned too far back and you hit your head.
What?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He told me to tell a story to them.
Yep.
So that's exactly what I did, because I've never been in a situation where, I don't know. I was like, maybe there is something wrong with me. Like what if I did fall asleep and he left and I didn't wake up? You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, so anyway, he was more concerned about like the pregnancy test, because they give you a pregnancy test before you go into the MRI thing for your
Yeah.
brain.
Mhm.
Um, so he was more concerned about that because he thought I cheated on him. And I was obviously more concerned about the MRI scan, like the scan.
Right.
And they told me that I did not have a concussion, that I was good to go home and everything, but that was 5 hours later.
Right.
And when he took me home, I slept for like 20 minutes and then I went to work. I still had my hospital band on my wrist and everything. And my boss saw the hospital band and she was like, "What happened?" And I told her the same story I told the doctors. I was studying, leaned too far back, and, and I said I didn't want to miss work, you know.
Mhm.
So she's like, "Well, you look horrible." And she's like, "Are you going to be okay?" And I said, "Yeah." So about an hour later, she sent me home. She's like, "Go get some sleep." And I was actually kind of glad she did that, because I went home, took a nap. He was at work, and I was able to type a paper up for school because I
Mm.
was going back to school as well. Um, so I still went to school that day, and was not able to focus at all. I was just, it just like all of those things, like it sucks the life out of you. You know what I
It
mean?
does. Yes.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
don't want to go to school. Like
Mhm.
I'm like, what am I going to school for? Like, what's the point?
Mhm.
And I over time he wouldn't let me even go out with my family anymore. Like he wouldn't let me see my sister. I'd have to make up excuses, and my sister started getting upset with me, my aunt started getting upset with me, and my cousin, like I borrowed $500 from her to pay my rent. Like I didn't tell him that I needed to borrow money, but cuz he doesn't like that sort of thing. Um that's another thing, like you really got to notice their behavior. If they're all about pride and stuff,
Mhm.
like, that should have been a red flag for me too. Like, he was living with me, but he wasn't paying any rent. He wasn't helping me with bills. I had to go grocery shopping, cook the food, and he didn't like what I cooked half the time, and I still had to go out to fast food restaurants and buy food with my own money. So that's why I couldn't even pay the rent.
Yeah.
I ended up having to get a third job. So I was nannying in the morning, going to the preschool during the day, and then working at a nursing home at night.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I still could barely afford it. I was just going crazy, and this went on for 4 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were in a relationship for 4 years, and it would be things like I would be going to his family's house for like Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that, and at the parties and stuff, like like the unwritten rules, you don't mess up a party, you don't mess up a wedding, you don't mess up stuff like that. Um there was a time where I wore I thought was a cute outfit, and he had gotten home from work he met me at his mom's house for the party, and I was excited to see him, and I gave him a hug and I'm like, "Welcome," and stuff like that, and he did not look happy at all. And I'm like, "What's wrong?" And he's
Mhm.
like, "You're really wearing that?" And I'm like, "I thought it was cute." And he's like, "Come inside." He's like, "Let me get you a different shirt." So he gave me a different shirt, and now I feel embarrassed and everything, because you really don't think all these people that saw me before, and now I'm wearing a different shirt, like
Mhm.
you really don't think they think something?
Right.
they obviously didn't say something, but I was at that party a good hour and a half, 2 hours before he even got there, wearing this outfit, and I was super comfortable in it and everything, and then he gave me one of his shirts to wear.
Yeah, and once he got there, the whole mood changed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Hmm.
Um, and then like, he was mentioning something about like, um, well, you're like 25, like how many guys have you slept with before you met me? And I'm like, why are you bringing this up at a party right now? Like, you shouldn't
Right,
be bringing it up at all, first of all, because I've never asked you
right,
how many women you've slept with.
right.
Like, that's just something you don't say to somebody at all, because obviously, whoever you're dating, like, had a past. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm not saying I slept with a lot of people, but like a lot, like there's people that have had a past before the person that they're seeing right now. But
Right,
Everybody had a past.
right,
right,
it's like that all happened in the past. As long as they're not doing anything behind your back,
right.
or as long as you're the only one they're sleeping with now, like what does it matter?
Exactly.
So, like I told him, I said that's none of your business. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Why are you bringing up my past? So anyway, I was like, how would you feel if I asked you how many women you've slept with? And anytime I've flipped it on him, he would get angry. And, obviously,
Hmm.
because in his eyes, he can do no wrong. In his parents' eyes, he can do no wrong. Uh,
Hmm.
so, needless to say, like, I was just done the rest of the night. Like, I didn't want to be there for the party anymore. Like, I gave his parents a hug and I said, thank you for having me and stuff. And we got in the car and we left. And that obviously turned into an argument. It's
Hmm.
like, you embarrassed me at my parents' house. And I'm like, how did I embarrass you at your parents' house? You made me change my outfit. You asked me how many people I slept with. How would I embarrass you?
Right, that was an embarrassment to you.
Right. So I'm like, you don't bring stuff up like that at a party. You don't make me change my clothes at a party.
Right,
So I ended up throwing that whole shirt away because I didn't want it anymore. Like, I didn't think it was cute anymore. And on the way home, because I raised my voice at him, and I like never raise my voice to my significant other. Like, I feel like if you love someone, you shouldn't yell at them. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Um, because me and my current boyfriend, we've been dating for a year, and we've never raised our voice at each other. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, if we have disagreements, we talk it out.
Right,
And with my abuser, like the second I raised my voice at him, like he was able to yell at me the whole time. But the
right.
second I raised my voice at him and stood my ground, like that's when he took this part, his palm, like the lower part of his palm, and like went like that on my eye.
Oh wow. Forceful.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I was obviously quiet after that. Like I didn't want to talk to him after that.
Right.
And he again apologized. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I didn't want to hear it. It's just been too much. There was a time where he took his fist when we were in the car again and, smash it against my nose and everything. And it was in the winter time and I was wearing a white vest. And
Hmm.
there was just like, it was all over my vest and there's still a stain on the vest. Like, I don't know why I haven't gotten rid of it. I really like that vest.
Yeah.
But I was hoping with washes and stuff I'd be able to get it out, but I haven't been able to. Um, but yeah, it's like with to try and be helpful. When people ask like, "Why did you stay?" You know,
Hmm.
um, it the most dangerous time is to leave.
Hmm.
You've really got to be strategic about it, and
Yep.
that's
Hmm.
what when I did get the courage to talk to my family about it, in 2019. I told them that because obviously that was their main question. They're like, "Well, why didn't you just leave him?" And I'm like, "Because he was threatening to kill my family. Like
Hmm.
he knew that that was going to hurt me more than
Sure.
anything.
Hmm.
He'd hurt me on a weekly basis and I found he also had a GPS on my phone and everything. That's another reason I stayed away from my family. Was because I didn't want him to know where they lived, you know.
Hmm.
Um so whenever anyone asked me, I'm like, I had to be strategic.
Yep.
You it's either I was either thinking he was going to kill me or I'm going to kill myself. But either way, I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
And, but I'm like, I had to think about it. I'm like, if I kill myself, like, I have my whole family I'm leaving behind. And
Yep.
they don't know any of this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say a word the entire 4 years about the abuse to anybody. And that's why I was saying either I would do it myself because, like, over time, that really eats at you too mentally. You're not
Yes.
allowed to go out with friends. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to, because I also thought that he had a microphone, like, that he was able to hear things from my phone,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and because every time I got a new phone, he asked me to see it, and I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what he was doing. So, there's stuff like that. You really have to be strategic. People can put things
Yep.
under your car to track you
Yep.
and stuff. So,
Yep.
um, you really got to think about it. And, um, you know, I don't know all I did was pray. That's what I did, thinking back on it, like, because nothing was fun to me. Nothing was fun. I wasn't able to go out. Anytime, like, I would draw something, he would just, like, tear it down, like, oh, it looks horrible. Or, he would just
Yeah.
put down everything I did. So,
Everything. Yep.
yeah, nothing was fun to me anymore. And, um, working 3 jobs and going to school and everything. And I was just tired. And
Mm-hmm.
so when he would go out with his friends, like, I used to hate him going out with his friends. But then after a while, after I heard he was going out with his friends, I'm like, oh, okay.
Ooh, a sigh of relief. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because I
get
was
to have
able
a few
to,
moments to myself.
yeah, I get to, like, listen to
Mm-hmm.
music, or I get to watch TV, or, because he was
Mm-hmm.
controlling the music I listened to also. Like,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
yeah. Um, I used to listen to a lot of, like, Korean music, and
Mm-hmm.
that was something I just really enjoyed, and he didn't like it. And so he wouldn't let me watch it. And one of my favorite movies was 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler. And
Oh,
when
yeah, I
we
like that too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were watching it together, he was like, "Oh, is this how you get your tricks and your," because of the very beginning scene where, like, they're all talking about this guy or the same guy and stuff. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, is this the movie is this, like, your guidebook or whatever?" So it, like, ruined that entire movie for me, and now I didn't even want to watch it anymore.
Right. Right.
So I'd be very careful about what I watched around him, what I did. Like, couldn't play video games. He wouldn't even let me sleep because he was playing video games. And if I wanted to sleep, he would make me watch him play video games. And it's not like, oh, yeah, just be present while I play video games, like be on Facebook and stuff. That's fine. I had to sit there and watch him play video games, like sit there, watch the screen.
Wait,
He's,
what?
and yeah, I
Yeah.
had to sit there and watch the screen while he played video games.
Wow.
Yeah, and I used to do that with one of my former best friends, but, like, it was a video game that we both liked. He
Right. It was
wanted me
some.
to sit there and watch him play Call of Duty or Fortnite, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like, I need to be up at 5 in the morning. Like, I don't want to watch you play video games. Um, so anyway, like, I'm gonna skip over, like, a whole bunch of stuff, just because, it's just a lot in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
um, I got invited to my cousin's wedding, and I had missed my one cousin's wedding because he wouldn't let me go. And I didn't want to miss this cousin's wedding because it's like, come on, like, I never get to see my family. And,
Mm-hmm.
this was when, he started realizing how controlling he's been to me, and he tried to, like, pacify me with gifts and stuff. He bought me a Nintendo Switch and
Mm-hmm.
everything, which he got mad at me for buying the Nintendo Switch that he gave me the money for, because he gave me $300 to buy a brand new Switch. I
Mm-hmm.
bought a pre-owned refurbished Switch for cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that I was, being smart and everything, because, like, why not save money
Right.
if it works just fine and it had warranty and everything. He got mad at me. He's like, "Well, I gave you money to buy a new Switch. Why would you buy an old one?" And I'm like, because it was cheaper and it works just as well as the new one. Like,
Right.
Right.
what's the problem with me saving money? And I gave him the extra money back, so I don't understand why he was, like, upset about it.
Right.
Um, I was like, it was my choice. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so towards the end of our relationship, he started being like, more willing to let me go out, but like with a set like limit, like, okay, but you have to be home at this time or whatever, which I was okay with that because it was better than not being able to go at all.
Right.
The only thing is, anywhere I went, and this was during the span of the 4 years, because he had rules for me. Anywhere I went, I had to text him when I got to my car, when I left, when I got to where I was, and like through work, I had to text him on my lunch and let him know when I was on my lunch, when I got back from lunch, and then when I left work at the parking lot, and then when I got home. So, and I was wondering why that all mattered. And I found out the reason why is because over a routine, with the same routine, he was able to see like the time it took me to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was timing them all out.
Mm-hmm.
So if she leave from work and get home, it take her this amount of time
Yep.
to get from work to home. Yep.
I had to tell him if I was stuck by a train and, stuff like that. So, yeah, I definitely learned all these things. Like he was timing me, and if I tested it, which I
Mm-hmm.
probably shouldn't have tested it, but I tested it because, I mean, I don't know where I got all the gutsiness from, but like, yeah, I wanted to test these things, so I would
Mm-hmm.
stay a little bit later. When I got to a grocery store, like I would stay a little bit late at the grocery store and actually look instead of rush.
Right.
And, he would blow up my phone. Where are you? Why haven't you gotten back home yet? The store's just across the street. Why didn't you? So I called him and I'm like, because I don't want to rush at the grocery store. I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
my time. I want to make sure I get everything. Or I'm
Mm-hmm.
in a long checkout line. Like, why do I have to explain this to you? Haven't you
Mm-hmm.
ever been inside a grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if I had to go to Target, like nobody's just going in there for deodorant and leaving. You're
Girl,
walking
no.
up and down the aisle.
Yes. Yes.
So, so like, by the end of 2018, like things got a little bit better and, I mean, better as in like I was given a time limit, like you're able to go out with your friend for like 2 hours or whatever. And I'd kind of like drop small hints to my friend that I went out with. The thing he didn't like was that I went out with my friend and her boyfriend. He hated that because he thought I had interest in the boyfriend. And I'm like, no, it's my friend's boyfriend. Why would I do that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you want me to? I know you don't want me to have friends, but like, come on. Like, why would I be interested in her boyfriend? That's not cool.
Right.
Um, we just went out to like an outdoor mall and stuff, and it was hard to explain to her that, I had to be home at this time and stuff. It's like, okay, you're an adult with your own apartment. Why do you have a time limit? Why do you have a curfew?
Right.
It was really
Right.
hard to explain all that. Um, and I don't know, it's just looking back on all this, I'm like, why did I put up with all that? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
um, but again, like, um, I think like just praying and stuff like gave me that strength to, you know, overcome all this stuff, and it gave me the strength to leave because when my lease was coming due, my rent was about to go up $50.
Mm-hmm.
So my rent for a one bedroom was about to be $950. And I was working three jobs and was barely able to afford $900.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, I said, just so you know, my lease is coming due. I'm like, either you're gonna help me or, I can't renew this lease. I have to go get another apartment. And he didn't want to hear any of that. He was just playing his game and like, oh, whatever. And he thought I was joking. I'm like, all right, well, you'll see.
Right. Right.
It'll come time where I'm gonna make the decision myself because I'm the one paying.
Right.
And then you'll be, I don't know, on the street or
SOL.
something. Yeah. So, and I gave him plenty of time too. I told him in November that my lease was gonna expire the next month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I, s- my one of my dreams was to like be an actress. I really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be an actress, like a singer, actress, stuff like that. And I had these acting auditions, and I told him about them. And then this was in November 2018, and he's like, "You're not going to those acting auditions." And I said, "Oh, I wasn't asking you. I'm telling you, I'm going to these acting auditions." And he's like, "Well, if you do, I'm going to break up with you." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess we're over then." I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, and by the end of this relationship, that's when I didn't care. It's like, you've threatened
Yeah.
me with everything. You've held a pocket knife to my throat. You've grabbed me by my face several times. You've slammed my head into a wall. Like, I'm not scared of you.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, he knew that the only thing he could do was like threaten me with my family, and like, he didn't know where they lived. He knew where
Mm-hmm.
my sister lived because I used to live there, but he didn't know where my aunt and uncle lived and stuff. And I'm just like, you're not scary to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
um and then so the relationship, it was surprising that he was just like, okay, well, fine, we're done then. And I'm like, okay. And in my mind, I was hoping and praying that that was the end, because
And
he had said, okay, we're done several times, and he'd love to break up with me on my birthday every year, and stuff like that. We were just on and off more times than I can count. And sorry, I have a hair that keeps going, itching my nose.
mm,
um yeah, so I was just hoping that this time it was done. I was, getting boxes and everything. I had my sister come and help me, like, keep me company while I packed. She didn't even have to help me pack. But I didn't feel comfortable putting my back toward him and stuff. I wanted somebody there
right.
um when I was packing. And I thought everything was going to be done when I moved out. Um of course, he tried to get me back again when we were done and I was moved out. And I told him no. He kept wanting to meet places. He wanted to meet me at my apartment. I'm like, no, you're not going to find out where I live now.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. I'd gotten a new phone. He wasn't able to track it or anything. Um, Anytime we did meet, we met in like a Walmart parking lot or something if he had to talk to me, where there were people.
Right.
And there was one time where he just kept on blowing up my phone. And this was when I was in my new apartment. So now this is January 2019. Um, I was terrified to stay here on my own, so I went and got a cat. Um, and he has like helped my anxiety so much because, like I said, he hid in my closet one time. So like I was
Yeah.
terrified to be here on my own. Um, the my previous apartment had like a door that you were able to just open, but the next door to like actually get into the apartment, like lobby, you needed a key or to be buzzed in. This apartment complex that I'm in now, it you don't need that. You could just walk right in and walk up to my door, and it scares me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I got my cat to keep me company and everything, and he was just like blowing up my phone, and I wouldn't answer, and then finally I answered, and I'm like, "What?" And then it ended up being his friend on the other line. He gave his friend his phone. I'm like, what is it? And he's like, oh, this is, so and so's friend, and he really loves you, and I think you should give him another chance. And I'm like, first of all, if you're his friend, did he ever tell you that he was in a relationship to begin with? And he was like, no. I was like, we've been dating for 4 years and you never knew about it. I was like, isn't that a little fun, like fishy to you? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm gonna hang up the phone and you can ask him like what happened in the relationship those 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
If and then try and see if you want us to get back together.
Right.
And I apologize to his friend for yelling at him because the way I answered the phone, um, I ended up scaring him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I met up with oh wait, I didn't meet up with my abuser. So a couple nights after that incident happened, I heard a soft knock on my door at 11:30 at night. And I didn't answer because obviously I'm about to go to sleep. Like, who's knocking at my door? I always keep my phone on vibrate, and my phone started going off, and it was a private number. So I tiptoed because all my lights were already off. I was about to go to sleep. I tiptoed to the front door and looked in the peek hole, and it was covered. And then when I called my abuser's phone, and it rang really loud on the other side of the door, and I'm like, this idiot, like, come on. Like,
Well, how
so
did he find out where you lived at the new house?
so one of those times that we met at the Walmart parking lot and stuff, he ended up following me home.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, cuz so my apartment where I live now is like he can pass it to get to our old apartment. So like his house, like he would just have to make a left turn and he's like there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really take much for him to like find it.
Trying to
Figure it
figure it
out.
out.
Yeah. So, and it's like at nighttime, you don't know who's following you because of the headlights.
Right.
So I didn't know he was following me. Um, so he was following me enough to see where I lived and then like left. You know what I mean? So, I called his phone and it rang on the other end, and then, he answered and he's like, "I just want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Go away. Like I don't want to talk to you." I said it's 11:30 at night. I'm going to go to sleep. And he's like, "Please." And then this is in February 2019. Um, he's like, "Please, can I just talk to you?" And I open the door and I'm like, "I'll talk to you, but if I feel uncomfortable, I'm leaving."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was a mistake that almost cost me my life.
Oh wow.
So I walked out with him and we got in the car because it's February, it's cold. We're not standing outside and talking. He's parked on a side street across the street from my apartment under a tree. So I get in the car, and this is after Valentine's Day, and he hands me a necklace, and like it's a box, and I open it, and it's a beautiful necklace, and he's like, "Happy Valentine's Day," and I'm like, "You've never given me anything for Valentine's Day." I'm like, "Actually, a couple of Valentine's days ago, you ordered Chinese food for Valentine's Day, and then you got up because your friend called you and wanted to hang out, and you ditched me on Valentine's Day." I'm like, "So why are you giving me something now? We're not even together."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "'Cause I'm really, really sorry." He's like, "And when you talk to my friend, I told him everything, and I told him, that I was abusive to you, and he was on your side, and, said like, well, I'm not gonna help you get back with someone that you're laying your hands on."
Right.
And I said, "Smart friend." I said, "Tell him I said thank you next time you see him."
Mm-hmm.
And, he's like, "Yeah, I will." And he kept trying to grab my hand. So I'm like, "Okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable."
Comfortable. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I gave him a warning. I'm like, "I'm feeling uncomfortable. So if you want to keep talking, you better get your hand off me." And he's like, "Okay, I'm sorry." And we'd talk a little more, and then he'd still slip his hand on my hand. So I went and reached for, he had the car on because it was cold and he had the heat on.
Right.
I reached for the door handle, and he put the car in drive. And when you put the car in drive, it locks your
It
doors.
locks. Mm-hmm.
So he put the car in drive and he sped off with me in the car. And now, mind you, it's 11:30, and well, a little later now because we were talking. It's late o'clock. It's late at night. Late o'clock. I like that. So I throw on my seatbelt because I don't know what's going to happen at this point.
Mhm.
And he's like flooring it down this like this dark side street, and he's like, "We're both going to die tonight." And he's like swerving and like missing cars and like missing these parked cars on the side of the street. And then he sees this big tree and he goes and like swerves toward the tree. And then I swerve the wheel back the other way and lay my hand on the horn. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to die, somebody's going to hear me.
Hear
And,
me. Right.
Right.
I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to go down without fighting you right now.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you're not just going to take me willingly. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So, I laid my hand on the horn and he kept on screaming at me, "Who is he? Who is he? Who is he?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Like this imaginary guy that you have made up in your mind."
Mm.
Like, I said, "I need to focus on myself. I'm not seeing anyone right now." I said, "I need to repair all the damage that you done."
Right.
So
Right.
anyway, he gets me completely lost because it's an area I have no idea where I'm at. And he
Mhm.
stops on another random side street, and I jump out of the car. Like he
Mhm.
stopped, and I just like jumped out. And he's like, "Ashley, come on, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Like, let me drive you home." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, I'm not gonna get you in your car again." He's like,
Right.
Exactly.
"But you don't know where you're at." And I'm like, "I'm a lot safer out here by myself than I am in the car with
Exactly.
you."
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm like, "I'll find my way home. I have a GPS on my phone. I'll type in my address." And he's like, let me just drive you home, and you're never gonna hear from me again." So I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I got back in the car with him. And he did drive me home and he let me go. And the last thing he said to me was, "I'm sorry." And I slammed the door and I went to my apartment. and
Mhm.
obviously I got no sleep that night.
Right.
I guess
Um,
that your anxiety probably was high.
oh
You
yeah,
probably was scared and everything else, and just recalling,
I
just
was.
playing back what was happening in
Oh
that
yeah,
car at the time.
it seemed like it went on forever, and it probably was only a couple of seconds, couple of
Yeah,
minutes, but it seemed like it was like a really long time. And I was just, so grateful to, make it home alive. And I
right.
smelled
That
my
night.
blanket, and I was just so happy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so
Because it
now,
could have easily went the other way.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if it did go the other way, like, I'm glad it didn't, but if it did go the other way, at least I tried to be heard. At least I did something about it.
Right.
And
It
that's the
wasn't going
thing.
down quietly.
Right. So, I had actually got my first tattoo in 2019 in October. So just a
Mhm.
few, like, several months after like that happened, and it's like the silhouette of a lion,
Mhm.
and like the Leo symbol, because I'm a Leo, and then
Mhm.
the two connected, it's a heart. So, like,
Mhm.
if you look up what a lion actually represents, it represents like resilience and like hunter and persistence and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, I always say that I have the heart of a lioness.
Yes.
So, stuff like that. And what I really want to do is, instead of saying I'm a victim of domestic violence, I
Right.
want to say I'm a victor, and I want to help people who are
There
still
you
in it.
go. Yes.
So,
Yes.
Change that narration.
Yeah.
yeah. So instead of saying this is what happened to me, I want to tell people how to overcome what happened.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so now I'm 2 years, 2.5 years free, and I've met the most amazing man of my life in my rock band that I joined, and
Oh,
I
okay.
yeah, so I'm actually wearing my sweater right now. Another Wednesday.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
We
okay.
That's
actually
the name
have
of the rock band.
yeah.
Okay.
Um
Okay.
and I actually have several songs that, I've written, uh about domestic violence, like, to help people. And
Okay.
I'm lucky to have this platform. I'm lucky that my bandmates have taken me in and wanted me to be a part of their,
Mm.
because three guys, I'm a girl that's
Right.
never been in a rock band before, and you
Mhm.
know so I'm lucky to be doing this right now. And we had our first full day in the studio, and hopefully getting these songs out, and I want to share them to people.
Right.
Yeah. And
That's
that's, I
that's
mean, yeah,
important.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
Music
definitely
is
important.
always a music
Yes.
is always a gateway for so
Oh
many
yeah.
things. Stress,
Mhm.
anxiety, like music. I love music. Music kind of help you gather your thoughts and everything. Yeah, music is a
Hmm.
great gateway.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that when he was gone, like, on his outings with his friends and stuff, that's what I would listen to, one of my favorite bands and stuff, and it got me through the tough times. And I was like, I want to do what she does, because
Right.
it's a female fronted band too. And I'm like, I want to do what she does. And I want to help people, and I want to meet people who,
Mhm.
who would say, like, you really helped me get through these tough times and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yes, that is
So,
like the whole, this is why we do what we do, is
mhm.
because, your story can help someone else that's in a similar situation. And
Mhm.
then, like you said, trying to get you through, because it's going to be rough in the beginning. But
Oh yeah.
once you get to a certain point, it's going to be floating,
Mhm.
like it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, it's been a lot easier, day by day. I do still get, like something as simple as, I live on the third floor of my apartment, and something, like, when you have something like that happen to you,
Mhm.
somebody hiding in your closet or something, you notice the smallest details of your apartment.
Yes.
If something one thing is out of place,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
you freak out. Like, I didn't know they came to paint the balcony, and I didn't know they used a ladder to get up to my balcony. I thought somebody
Hmm.
came in my apartment when I was gone.
But they use the ladder.
Yeah, because I saw a water bottle on my balcony, and I'm like, I don't even own this type of water.
Right.
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 So, and I was freaking out. Like, I literally packed my stuff and went out of the apartment. I called my boyfriend, and I'm like, I'm coming to your restaurant, because he wasn't out of work yet.
Hmm.
I'm like, I will sit there in the far back table, and I will wait until you get off, but I am not
Right.
staying at home. And he
Right.
completely understands, like, and it takes a strong person to,
It
you
does.
know,
To
to
understand those things about
understand.
you.
Right.
Hmm.
So he, he works with it, and, even though I knew they came and painted the balcony, like when he closed the restaurant, like he saw me, like he saw a tear just come down my face and stuff, and he just hugged me. He's like, that must have been scary for you, and I'm sorry that you're still freaked out by him. I haven't heard from him since 2019, but still, you
Hmm.
know, he
There's no
pop
guarantee.
up at,
There's like you still in the same apartment, right? So
yeah.
he knows where you live. So
Mhm.
he could be just watching you from afar,
Mhm.
because most
Yeah.
of them do. And then they
Right.
try to get in another relationship, and it's all this whole back and forth mess, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad that, you got out, and you're continuing on with your dream. You're a teacher. Now you're in this
Mhm.
awesome rock band. So I'm definitely gonna look you up, girl, because I
Thank
want to
you.
hear. I want to hear what you're saying. I want to hear it.
Thank you.
So, listening to your story, so it sounds like mostly your story was more mentally. He did mentally and controlling, sort of like some are physical abuse. So, what was the worst thing he ever told you while y'all was in this relationship?
Oh, there was a lot of physical abuse. I just didn't want to go into all that because I want to use it
Okay,
to like help and not dwindle on like all the physical stuff. And but yeah, I would say it's like an equal amount of physical and mental abuse.
okay,
The worst thing he would ever tell me is that like nobody would care if I did die. He's like, you're in an apartment, like nobody would know that you went missing because I didn't keep in contact with my family regularly because I'd always have an excuse for a reason why I
Right.
couldn't go out with them, so they'd stop, you know, inviting me out and stuff. So he would say like, "You're an apartment, no, like nobody would." He said, "Do you think anybody would come looking for you?" And I'm like, he would always threaten to take me up to the woods at night and everything. He's like, "There's no cell service up there," and he would start driving in that direction. I'd start freaking out, and I would also like open the car door while he was driving and stuff, threaten to jump out of the car because I'm like, "You're not taking me to the woods. Like, are you nuts?
Hmm.
right,
Not this late at night." And
right.
obviously, that would stop him from doing that because there was cars behind him, and just to see the passenger door open like that, like I had my
That's
seatbelt on. I wasn't going anywhere.
right. But that's signaling the person in the back
Back
that,
to
hey,
you.
something is
Mm,
going on in the front.
Yeah.
So do I need to follow you, or do I need to call 911 and be like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm following this car, then somebody keeps trying to jump out, I need you to check. So
Yeah.
you did all the right signs, because a lot of women, when they're in there, they just freeze. You
Mhm.
didn't freeze. You just was like, okay, this what you okay, but I got something better for you. So it's
Yeah.
like you try to turn it like you were turning it back on him, and then if he's saying he's going to do something, okay, well, let me bring some attention to what's
Mhm.
going on, because you're not going to do that to me,
It's a
and that's
literal
awesome.
it's a literal game of chess.
Yeah,
right,
And one of my
yeah,
favorite movies is Harry Potter. So, that
right.
first movie where they had wizard chess at the end and,
yeah,
Yeah,
so that, it's a literal game of chess and you got to checkmate him,
yeah.
right.
or
And when
her
you
if
turned
you're a
those
man.
certain situations around on him, it kind of knocked him off of his game because
Yep.
Mhm.
he didn't know whether, all right, now she opened that door, she really gonna jump out there. So it made him kind of think about what he's gonna
Mm-hmm.
do and what he's gonna
Mm-hmm.
say, which is good
Yeah.
because everybody don't have the strength to do certain things.
Mhm.
Like Kim said, some freeze. Like I wouldn't have opened no damn door. You
See, my thinking
And
is
even though I know I have the seatbelt on, and
yeah.
it just, you thinking about how to open this door. Now, what if this fool push me out this door?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and my thinking was, and it sounded crazy to people when I told them, but I'm like, my thinking is, yeah, asphalt burn would hurt. Sure.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, he's hurt me probably worse,
Worse.
before
Mm-hmm.
before. So like
Right. Mm-hmm.
asphalt burn hurts. I'm sure getting taken to the woods and whatever he would do there to me would hurt worse
Worse.
Right.
Yep.
than
Right.
some asphalt burn, you know.
Right.
Getting hit
Right.
by a car, sure, it hurts. I'm sure, and hopefully I would have lived through that. But like,
Right.
again,
Right.
at least I went down fighting. At least he
Fighting.
didn't take me down.
Exactly.
The car behind me
Yes.
did or whatever.
Right. Right.
And if I lived to make it out, I wouldn't, want charges pressed against the person who hit me in the car behind me.
Right.
Like I had all this stuff planned out and everything. Not planned out, but
Right.
like thought of
Right.
Right.
and stuff like and because it feels like in the moment it feels like it's going on for a long time,
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, feel
like
like it's forever, and it's
yeah
only 5 minutes. You know.
right, yeah, so like you really got to make those quick decisions, and it's like, okay, but pick your poison. Do you want to asphalt burn or do you want to die, pretty
Yeah.
Right.
much.
Be tortured. You know, because you
Right.
never
Yeah,
know. Because he could have
right.
brought you to the woods and torture
Mhm.
you forever. You know.
Right, and I'm not gonna call his bluff on that, you know what I mean? Like there's a lake
Mm-hmm.
out there, like, and
Right.
no, I'm not even gonna take a chances like
So
that.
I'm gonna open this door and hope nothing
Yeah,
don't
I'm gonna
happen.
Right, I'm gonna open this door. We were on a busy road. Like, there's somebody here. So, like, weighing out my options, I'd rather, jump out of the car and then, the person behind me, if they swerved because they saw me jump out of the car, would
Right.
have followed him, hopefully, and gotten his license plate or something. So, there's
Yeah.
always something that could have happened like that. So,
Yep.
rather
Yep.
than being secluded with no cell phone service. So,
Right. So
I,
when did at what point in the relationship or out of the relationship that you ever told your family what was really
mm.
going on?
So after I got my tattoo, so I would say the end of October in 2019, what I did was I picked the family members that I thought would be easier to tell.
Okay.
Um, my mom still does not know to this
Wow.
day. Yeah, I still have not told my mom. Um, my mom was in a couple of abusive relationships too. She would send me pictures and stuff of bruises on her, and I offered to call the police. Like, I actually tried to call the police. She lives in a different state than me, and she flipped out when she found out I was trying to call the police. And I told her, I was like, well, let me fly you up here. I have the money. Let me get you a plane ticket. And she just did not want to be helped. So I'm like, well, if you don't want, and I actually told her this is before I got into an abusive relationship. I said, well, if you don't want my help, don't show me any more pictures. Don't cry for help anymore if you don't want me to get you out of it. I said, because I will pay for you to fly up here. I was
Mm-hmm.
giving her avenues and stuff. And she said, you'll understand if you ever find yourself in one. And then shortly after that, I was in one. So, that's another reason why I didn't tell anybody at the time, was because I didn't want to be like my mom and send pictures and cry for help and not want any help done.
Right.
I wanted to get myself out of what I got myself into.
Right.
Right.
So I started with my cousin, my older cousin, who's like a big sister to me. I confide in her a lot. She's the one that helped me with, getting my rent paid and stuff. And I did pay her back, just in case anyone was wondering. Paid back every penny.
Yeah.
Um, and I explained to her why and everything. And um, I explained to her why I pretty much fell off the face of the earth and everything. And, she gave me a hug, and I said, ouch, my tattoo, because it was like the day
It was
after I
just
got my
fresh.
tattoo. Yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, sorry." And then, she's like, "Are you gonna tell anybody else?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna tell my aunt, our aunt." I told her in November. I kind of like spaced it out a little bit to get,
Right.
So my aunt was gonna be the next easiest to tell. My aunt was crying when she found out, and she gave me a hug, and she said, "Why didn't you, leave?" And I explained to her, and then the next person I told was my sister, and then I told my sister's dad, and then because we have separate dads, and then I still have not told my mom. So that was pretty much all of my family.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
So
I get that because she's gone through the same thing too.
mhm,
But at the same time, some people want help right then and there, and some people don't, and we just have to kind of respect their privacy at the time.
yeah,
So
you can't force anyone. Yeah, they have to leave when they're ready, pretty
right.
Right.
much.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you was in a relationship and people was did anybody ever ask you why you left? And when you told them why you didn't leave the relationship and you stayed, what was their reaction and how you felt about it when someone said, "Well, why you just didn't leave?"
hmm So when they asked me that, and I told them it was to protect my family, um, they would just say, "Ooh, that's scary," because I told him like he had a GPS on my phone, and and I found out about the GPS on my phone because I went out on my break to move my car during the winter time, and I had to move it off the side street for the plowing. And when I went back to my school, I got a text saying, "Where did you just go?" Yeah, that's how I found out that there was a GPS, because I'm like, there's no way he knew that I went somewhere just now,
Right.
because you know what I mean? So when people ask why I didn't just leave him, like, because he had a GPS on my phone, and I said, if I talked about him or anything, I had to make sure my phone was in another room, because again, I didn't know if there's a
Right.
microphone too.
Right. Right.
Well, I mean, there are microphones on our phone, but I didn't know if he could hear.
Right.
And so um, you know, when they found out that there was a GPS on my phone, they were like, "Ooh, that's scary." They're like, "Well, why did you give him your phone?" And I'm like, "Because he would like hurt me if I didn't. Like, you know, he would just snatch it from me. Like, I had braces at the time, and he would always say, "Do you like your teeth?" And you know, I had surgery on my elbow before I met him. This gnarly scar right here.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it, but he would always threaten to re-break my arm and stuff, and you know, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, physical abuse is bad. I'm not discrediting any kind of abuse, because you know
Right.
I've been through both of it, but you know those mind games will get you.
They will.
You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And he's done physical stuff to back it up. So I didn't want to test him anymore or anything like that. So
Right.
I would give him my phone, because it's a phone. I had nothing to
Right.
hide. A person who has nothing to hide hides nothing. So I gave him my
Right.
phone.
Right.
So
But they won't give you theirs. They won't give you
right,
theirs. But yeah,
right.
here's my phone, but you won't. But why come I can't look at yours? Like, make that
hmm
make sense. But you know,
He's offered his phone to me, but I already knew he was cheating on me. So what do I need to see it for? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Because he told me I
right,
left you
Yeah,
because I was cheating.
right,
right.
exactly.
So
So
I didn't need proof. I think, you know, his mistake in all of it, first of all, abusing someone to begin with was a mistake, but also he talked a lot. You know what I mean? Like he told me he was going to bring me to the woods. You know, like that's why I opened the car door. Like he told
right.
me
Right,
all these things. Like the night he drove off with me in the car, he told me we were both going to die tonight. So
right.
when he told me stuff, I thought ahead of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
You had to start playing chess in your
yeah,
Yeah,
head on what's my
yeah,
next move.
right.
yeah.
Do I need to move 2 times or 1 time?
hmm
Yeah.
Right, right.
And then he sounded like the person the brag about it.
hmm
Like that narcissist. I'm gonna brag about it. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be no secret. I'm gonna tell you exactly what's gonna happen.
Right, and he has 3 younger sisters, so I always bring them up when we had arguments and stuff, and if he laid his hands on me, because there have been times where, like, we'd be yelling at each other, and then because I raised my voice at him, he'd backhand me across the face to get me to stop. Like, he's punched me in the stomach before, like, he's kicked me before, like, that's what I mean, there's plenty of times that he has, you know, physically abused me that I just didn't, you know, mention and stuff, but, because I wanted to get to, like, the actual stuff about it, maybe what
Right.
caused it or whatever is because he was cheating on me the whole time, and he was paranoid that I might have done the same thing to
Right.
get back, because I know that there's people out there that like they'll cheat on their partner to get back at them for cheating, and
Yeah.
I don't do stuff like that, you know, and it's just really upsetting to me that he took it that far and stuff. And people ask me, why didn't I call the police, why didn't I get restraining orders and stuff like that, protective orders, and my answer to that was simple, because he had a cousin who was a
Was a
felon,
police
and
officer.
he's like, yeah, he told me, he's like, you don't know who I know. He's like, I know people. He's like, so if I get put in jail, he was going to use his call to, you know, get
Mhm.
someone to out me and stuff. And, you know, he could have done that at any time. You know,
Right.
there's
Mm-hmm.
cases like that everywhere. And,
Yep.
you know,
It is
so I had a friend that I went to middle school with, and I found out that he was my abuser's cousin. And you better believe that when I found that out, I blocked him on Facebook.
right
Like,
Right.
I
because he
thought we
could
were,
have been watching too.
yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, I didn't want to take any chances with that. And I'm just like, he said he wasn't affiliated with him. I didn't want to take that chance.
Right.
Right.
So at what
So,
point in the relationship, and I know you left, at what point and what incident you sat down and said, Ashley, enough is enough. I need to leave this?
Um, that's kind of hard because it kind of built up over time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think when he started giving me that freedom a little bit to like go to my cousin's wedding or something, or to go out with a friend or something like that, and then I wanted to go to those acting auditions, and he's like, "You're not doing that," and I'm like, "I'm not asking you, I'm telling you."
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm you don't scare me anymore. Like I've lived this nightmare long enough. Like it's been 4 years. Um, I something's got to change. Like, you know what I mean? Like he made me feel like to his parents that I was the one hurting him because his
Right.
sisters, like he'd have his sisters on speakerphone. They would always say, "Oh, you look so depressed," and "Oh, you look so skinny now," and she's not feeding you over there. And I'm like, I would wake up early to go warm your car in the winter time. Even if I didn't work that day, I'd still have to wake up at like 6 a.m. to go warm up your car and sit in your car while you came out here and stuff. Like, if you don't know the whole story, don't be running your mouth. You know what
And
I
Right.
see,
mean?
and that's the thing. They don't know the whole story,
Yeah.
because of course they always flip it to, not them abusing you, you abusing them. And then of
Hmm.
course, most family is so naive to the fact that, they believe anything out their mouth, which is, ridiculous. But
Yeah.
you know, that, I don't know. I struggle when it comes to people's family, the abuser's family, because some people, if this is what happened, you take it if you don't. And I mean, and if you don't, that's fine. You have quality day.
Yeah, and I really wish that his parents like could have known. But at the same time, because I'm like, again, he has three younger sisters, and whenever I'd bring that up, I'd say you have three younger sisters. What if they end up in a relationship with a guy like you? They're like, well, they have their big brother to protect them, and I'm like, well, their big brother should be protecting me,
Right,
like, you
right,
know what I mean?
right,
I'm like,
right,
they've got your parents to protect them. They live under your parents' roof.
right, right,
I'm like, who's gonna protect them from you?
right.
So
It's crazy. Men are something else. I mean,
I know.
they are. They are something
They're
else.
hanging for what they crazy
Yeah.
behind. So,
Yeah.
so before we close out, Ashley,
Hmm.
what do you have for any lady or man that's out there that's in a domestic violence relationship or planning or they done left? What suggestions do you have for them?
I would say just, don't stay down. Like don't give up. Like, and I used a quote from one of my songs, like, show your strength and show your light, shine your light. Like
Mhm.
you are stronger than you give yourself credit for. Like, I didn't know that I could, come up with the strength and like the strategy that I did to leave. And I know a lot of men and women, a lot of them don't make it out alive, and it's really sad, and it's a
Right.
really big issue that needs to be talked about and addressed. And
Yes.
and
Yes.
I feel
Yes.
like people are looking at it more as taboo to talk about it
Yes.
than
Yes.
actually
I agree.
addressing it.
Yes. Yes. I
And
agree.
and that's another reason is people feel like they can't talk about it. It's almost like mental health, like,
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
if someone has depression, they feel like they can't talk about it because they feel like they're complaining, or
Yep.
people are just going to say, well, you got yourself into it, like, didn't you see the signs before? And we need to stop victim shaming, and we need to
Yep.
stop
Yep.
we need to stop waiting until something bad happens, like
Happen.
death
Yep.
or whatever, suicide, to happen before we take action.
Right. I
So
totally agree with that.
I would just say, like, it's easier said than done, but don't look at yourself as a victim, because you're going to take on that role. Whatever you label yourself, you're going to take on that role. I never considered myself a victim. I always consider myself a fighter, and that's what I plan to do until I got out, was fight. So
Mm-hmm.
you really got to put on your battle armor and just, be strategic, and don't talk a lot about your strategy to anybody. Like,
Right.
to your abuser, like, do not threaten them with things that you're going to do, because
Right.
they'll know your secrets. Like, just,
Yep.
you know,
Move in
see,
silence.
right, move
Move
in
in silence.
silence.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
Yep,
Yes,
move in silence. You have to.
definitely.
If you want to get out safe, you have to move in silence. But you need to
Definitely.
have that one good person, friend or family that you know that you could trust, that
Yes.
you could tell, what's going on and what your plan of action is. Because on this day, I know that this is what you're doing. So I need to be on high alert to make sure that if my phone rings and you call me, I know you need me.
And have backup plans, right? Write
Yeah.
notes that they won't be able to find, because like I used to keep a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to keep it in my trunk, and I used to have a lot of stuff in my trunk, but I knew if something ever happened to me and police like went through my car or something or anything, like they'll find the journal and it'll be all in there. You know what I mean? Like
That's
n-
smart.
the name of the person, like things that happen, and I would do that on days where he wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're never, you're not around them 24/7. There's going to be those downtimes. Like take receipt papers and jot down notes or whatever. Just leave a trail, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
anything, like God forbid anything happens to you or anything, like they
Mm-hmm.
have a paper trail.
Yep. You
So, and
you
then
you thought you thought all this out. Like you knew you were in a situation, but you were at the end of the day, you were okay. I know I need to do this. I know I need to do that, and I know I need to do that.
Mhm.
That is smart, and a lot of women don't think about that. They just again, they just freeze and don't know what to do. But you thought about everything, and you made sure that if I was going to be the victim, then you're going to be caught, and then this is the whole story right here. So I
Mhm.
thank you for that, because
Thank
we
you.
don't hear that often. We don't hear that at all.
Because they just give in, because
Yeah.
they abuse mentally and
Mhm.
physically.
Yeah.
So once you done play with somebody's mind so much, it's like they can't think. It's like they done took that power from them. So
Mhm.
basically they're not thinking. So in the end, they just done gave in to the situation. Whereas you didn't give in, even though he would say these things like, "Oh, nobody don't want to be with you," or "Nobody's gonna hear you, nobody's gonna believe you," but you still fought
Yeah.
back, and everybody don't have that mind strength.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what? It also helps if people like this doesn't see. Sorry, I'm charging my computer because it just went dark and I don't want it to end with you on you guys. Um, Another thing is actually learn to play chess, because you know the pieces all move differently.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use that figurative, figuratively as well as literally. Like,
Yep.
while you're thinking of your strategy, your next move, really think about like, is this a small move? Like, do I need to move my pawn because pawns only move one space? Do I need to make a small move or a big move right now? You
Mm-hmm.
know, like
Right.
you can literally learn a lot by learning to play chess.
Yep.
I
You
know.
can.
Ashley,
Can.
Ashley got it down to the T.
Yes.
Like, do I
Yes.
want to go big? Do I want to go small? Do
And
I
you
Yes.
want to
really
take
gotta,
the king and move it now? Is it the right time to move the king?
because you gotta pick your battles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a life or death
You do.
situation all the
It
time, even
is. Yes.
even in those small moments. Because like there, I'm sorry if I could just tell like one more quick thing.
You're
There was a time where like he actually got into my apartment, like my new apartment. um like he came on in, and I was asking him to leave, and he was like going like this, like not wanting to leave. He's like, you never let me leave when I want to leave, why should I leave when you want me to leave, and stuff like that. And then he was like backing up in my kitchen, and I had my like where my clean silverware was, and he was like rustling around in my clean silverware, and I'm like, what do you have behind your back? And it was a knife, it was a steak knife.
Mhm.
So you really gotta, listen for stuff like that. You've really got to use
Yep.
all of your senses that you can
Yep.
use at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
to because how important is your life to you? That's what you have to
Right.
ask.
Come
You know
on.
what I mean?
Okay.
What are you
Mhm.
fighting for? You know what I
Okay,
mean?
Ashley. Okay. Okay. She's coming with the words today. Okay.
Ashley was really on it. Ashley, I ain't standing this shit no longer.
Right.
I done been in this shit 4 years.
Yeah.
One of us coming out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who gonna win, but,
Yeah.
but it's
So
gonna be a fight.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And you have
So
to be brave like that. Like you
Yeah.
took a lot of chances. Like you really took a lot of chances that could have led you to your death, but you didn't give up. and in your mind was, if I'm going down with a fight. He gonna everybody gonna know his ass to been in the fight too. I ain't in this fight by myself, which
Right,
makes
Another,
right.
you brave.
thank you. Another thing is like if you're dealing with a narcissist, because that's what I was dealing with, you really gotta realize the traits of a narcissist and like how to get around it. They're very prideful. So that's what I was working with. That's what helped me plan my strategies because like with the car situation, anything that puts spotlight on them in a negative way will make them freeze right then and there.
Right.
They have the same flight or fight response that you have. You know what I mean? So the fact that I, called his bluff with another bluff by swinging my car door open,
Right.
it put a light on him in a negative way because he's the one driving and there's people everywhere. That's what I picked up on real fast because, because I'm very emotional, I'll cry at the drop of a hat, especially if someone yells at me. So if he like raised his voice at me even a little bit, like I'd start tearing up. And if we were in public or something, he would tell me there's people around. Like he would always make me know that there's people around. So I used that to my advantage.
Right.
When he threatened to take me to the woods, he was able to do that openly because it was just the two of us in the car. But I'm like, there's people around. Let me open up that door.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
it was in so many ways he was giving you little clues too.
Yep, yep.
And then there's people around kind of made you always thought about there's people around. There's people around. So
You really got to listen to every single word. You've got to watch every single thing. Just be observant, be mindful,
Yep,
and, be resourceful also.
so
yep.
we Ashley, I just want to say thank you for even sharing
Yes,
your story because you gave so many jewels and
yes.
so much of information, so much, and it is not the big resources that you give, it's the little things like you say, always be mindful, always listen to it, always use your senses, always think about the game of chess. So you gave a lot of good information that can help a lot of people. So I'm thankful that you did allow us to share your story with other women out there because every little bit information help, no matter what it is. Every little information help because a lady might be saying, a girl might be saying, nah, oh, I know how to play chess, like, and she listens to, I
Yeah.
know how to play chess. So what
Mm-hmm.
that information you gave her, when to make a small move, when to move that king, when to move that queen in chess, all that stuff coming together. So it's all about you just using your senses. And that's it at the end of the day. Like using your seven senses that God give us
Yep.
and staying strong through it all, because some people can't stand, some people can't be strong after a while, especially when you've been in a situation for so long.
Yeah.
They done took their strength away from them. They done took their self-esteem away from them. They done took everything away from them. So telling your story, giving them all these little bits of jewels and little bits of hints that they can do kind of help. So I'm thankful that you was able to get out those situations safely. You might have been
Thank
there
you.
4 years, but you got out. But the thing was, you got out and you got out safe. And you always thought, if I'm going down, everybody gonna know your ass was in a fight too.
Yeah,
Like
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was,
Right.
I might, you might have got me, but you was gonna struggle. And sometimes you gotta think like that. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
think like that sometimes because you just never know what that other person thinking about. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much for just dropping those little jewels on us for other females that may be listening to the show. So
Right.
Of course.
ladies, don't give up. Like Ashley said, don't give up. Always
Mm-hmm.
use your seven senses. Always watch. You don't have to talk about things all the time. Just
Hmm.
just make mental notes. Like she said, take a receipt. Or even if you're in a restaurant, get a napkin and write something down. Leave it
Yes.
in your car. Your trunk is one place. Because even if anything happened, the police always check your trunk,
Mm-hmm.
under the seat, in the
Hmm.
glove compartments, all those little places. Leave little notes, leave names, leave anything. If it's on a napkin, take that napkin and write something down. Always journalize everything that goes on because you just never know what's gonna happen. So
Right.
Yeah.
happy Friday to everyone. And again, Ashley, thank you so much for sharing your story here and allow Give a Sister a Hug to share your story. I'm your girl, Author Erica. I have my fabulous co-host, Author Kim, on with us, and Ashley the Warrior here with us.
Yes.
So thanks
Yes.
Thank
for
you.
joining us and have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank